Welcome back to another Banking App Insight session looking at the UK Challenger market. And the theme of the month is we're doing a little bit of gap analyses. And in particular here, we're looking at Starling and Revolut at the top of the table consistently over the last 6 to 12 months. Tony Sharp's going to give us a quick run through of why Starling's at the top of the tree and what Revolut really could do to help bridge that gap. Over to you, Tony.
Great, thank you, Glenn. As Glenn mentioned, we're covering off the UK challengers today, so Starling, Monzo, Revolut UK, Atom Bank, and Monese. Let's just jump straight in and look at these scores, so to see what's going on in this here. So one of the things we've seen recently is that we've got, and this is looking over a fairly long period, but recently over the past year, we've seen Starling sort of leap ahead, and it's actually sitting above the rest. They had their problems sort of mid to late last year. They've actually really done a good job of keeping that gap in there. Now, one of the things I could look at is compare them to Atom Bank, but Atom Bank is actually, it's sort of going up and down. It's a bit sporadic, and it hasn't been leading for most of this year. But one that's sort of consistently behind, we can see here's Revolut. It's sort of consistently sitting there of a gap of about from 4.2 up to 4. There's a gap of about 0.5 consistently across time. So that's the one I'll focus on today and have a look at why that's there, what's that gap, and how could the likes of Revolut actually close that gap. So let's have a look. So first of all, just having a look at what these the scores between these two, where are they coming from? Now, one of the things we can see when we look at this big blue area, those are the customers giving a 5. So we've got 66% of Revolut customers giving a 5. As compared to Starling at 83%. So Starling is up in a pretty high territory. It's getting above 80% giving you 5s. You're in the top of the banks globally that we measure. Whereas 66% there's obviously a fair bit to improve there. It's about sort of there's a fairly big gap actually. And even look at the other end of the scale, those giving a 1, Revolut's giving nearly 20% giving a 1 as compared to only 6% giving a 1. There for Starling. So let's step forward and have a look at why that might be happening. So one of the things we can see here is that we've got these, we're looking at these journeys. So these are the major journeys that customers do across the app. So if we look at things like, for example, transferring between accounts, monitoring account activity, opening and authenticate, so it's a sort of getting into the app journey, depositing checks, for example. So we can see across the board a few areas where Starling is actually doing a lot better. So, for example, monitoring account activity is 4.5 compared to 3.7. Depositing checks is 4.8 compared to 4.3. One of the big ones here is checking the account balance, 3.8 compared to 2.4. So what is going on there with Revolut? Let's have a check on that to see what they're actually doing inside there. So if we look at that, I'll get down to the actual comments to see what's actually going on. So this seems like a very basic function thing of actually checking your account balance. A lot of the problems here, there seems to, this person here is actually closing their account because having trouble seeing their account balance. Constantly bugging out, cannot see my balance, login issues. So there's issues with actually getting money in there and how it's transferring. But in general, you can see the trend is this sort of red and a couple of green in there about the low and high scores. But let's have a look at that and compare that to Starling, who is doing reasonably well at 3.8, although it's slightly below their average score for their bank overall. Now, if we look here, we're seeing a few of these other ones coming through with these sort of mid-level, not sort of all, it's not all red, getting a lot more greens going on. So again, here I can check my balance. I can find it easier to use. You can see your remaining balance in the transactions. But there's still little issues coming through. Each transaction does not update the balance in a way that allows you later to see the changes. So there's still some issues and some UI improvements that that Starling can actually make in there. Again, there's the very positive stuff. For some people, it instantly updates my balance. So again, some issues and some good things, but they need to improve there as well. So what we can do, though, is look at another area, which is looking at this one here, which is looking at this whole idea of the fundamentals of the app. So things like usability, reliability, functional suitability. So is it actually doing the purpose it's supposed to be doing for that particular journey or whatever it is? or the app speed or security. One of the biggest gaps we can see here, though, is that Starling is doing a lot better on this whole area of reliability. And that is a major bugbear for customers. If it's not reliable, it's crashing, it's not doing the right thing, then of course that's going to be a major issue that stops you getting to those great features you might have in your app. Let's have a look at what it looks like for Revolut. So if I select here, what I can see in my examples, let's jump in and have a look. So reliability. So for some people, it's actually easy, it's fast, it's reliable. For others, they can't log in. They can't download the app. I couldn't top up my card because I had problems. The app doesn't work. There's lots of downtime with the app as well. So it's interesting. There's a few good ones coming through, but in the end, there's a lot of problems coming through, only averaging 2.5. If we jump into reliability of Starling, even though it's a bit below average for them, we can see a lot of 5s coming through. So it works reliably. It's slick. It's seamless. A couple of small issues there for customers. Nearby payments doesn't work. So clearly there's some reliability issues in some parts, but in general, it's very positive. So overall, it's around reliability. Looks like an issue for Revolut. They can actually pick that gap up into Starling, and also some of those key journeys, like checking your account balance. Some of the basic stuff you need to do with the app needs to actually function better for Revolut. So thank you, Glenn.
As always, mate, it's fantastic to get those insights from you. And how amazing is it when you can lift the lid on exactly what people are saying about you, your bank, and the app, and use that to help identify and prioritize areas that you can focus on to make those incremental improvements and catch the competition. If you want to do that for you, your bank, and your app, give us a call, reach out. We'll have a chat. Have a great one.